Hey, it's Fred, and we're going to do something here that I've never, ever done before in the history of Golf Smarter, and that's just riff.
This is Golf Smarter.
I'm not interviewing anybody here. This is a bonus episode that I'm just going to ad-lib and let it fly and see what happens. So I'll stay with me because I can't wait to share with you my 2 days at the Masters. It's been absolutely amazing to spend those 2 days. I've been to multiple sporting events. I've been to the Super Bowl. I've been to 8 World Series. I've been to 5 baseball All-Star games. I've been to the NBA All-Star game, Indy 500, NASCAR. I've been to a couple WrestleManias. But nothing compares to the excitement of the Masters, going to Augusta. I mean, you know, it's everybody's bucket list. Everybody who's ever been around golf, it's their bucket list. And I get to check it off. A little background on how I got here first. So a Golf Smarter listener named Chet Hurwitz, who really is an amazing ambassador to Golf Smarter here in Atlanta, telling many of his friends. And then he saw on Facebook that a high school classmate of his had written a memoir that was being highly recommended. So Chet got the book called By Accident by Joanne Green, and he started reading it, and while he's reading it, he's realizing, wait a minute, she keeps talking about her husband, Fred. It's the same Fred Greene who I've been listening to for a while. So Chet reached out to Joanne, and in 2023, Joanne and I took the Civil Rights Tour in the South, and we stopped in Atlanta first. We came in a day early, and we met Chet and his wife, who, again, my wife went to high school with him. And you can hear my wife on her podcast in the story. And she also does the introduction to Golf Smarter. That's my wife's voice. So we met Chet last year and his wife. And Chet and I immediately start talking golf and the podcast. And he's told me that he had been to multiple Masters before, and also has played Augusta National at least a half dozen times, I think it is. And I told him at that point a year ago, I said, if there's any chance ever of me getting to come with you to go to the Masters, give me 24 hours notice and I'll be there. And so over the last year, we worked on it. And if you remember last week's episode, or this week's episode with Dr. Bob Jones IV, Bobby Jones' grandson, he talked about Charlie Yates and one of his closest friends, Charlie Yates Jr. Charlie Yates was a golfer in the 30s and 40s and kind of a legend here in Atlanta. And Chet is also good friends with Charlie. And Charlie was the one who he's a member at Augusta National. And he was able to provide us with 2 members' badges for Wednesday at the Masters, and then Thursday for the first day of the Masters. We just got regular tickets. And I'll break that down in a minute, but I just wanted to share with you the introduction of how I got here in the first place. As I'm talking right now, I'm sitting at my gate. I'm about to fly back to San Francisco this morning. And so I just want to share observations and stories from my time. And we'll do that after this. Okay, Augusta National. Amazing. Now, first thing I want to tell you is that when you... Okay, so he's talking. I hope you can hear me over this guy talking. I'll just wait. Also, this is free of charge, company of Delta, and you're not going to gladly issue your escort. Okay, now, first thing I want to talk about is that since most of us has to experience the Masters, the people who go, what they tell you, the ones who've been, if you've ever talked to people who've been there, first thing they talk about is how amazing it is, how steep the holes are. And you really don't get a sense of that on television. And it's true, you really don't get a sense of how steep the holes and the walking is and what a challenging walk it is. So here's a piece of advice. When you're watching it on TV, look at the player's head, the top of his head, and then compare that to the horizon. If the horizon is above his head, clearly he's going uphill. If the horizon is below his head, then he's going downhill. And you can really get a better sense of what the undulation is like when you're watching on TV. I have all these notes that I'm checking off in my day here. So when we arrived Wednesday morning, we get our badges, and first thing I'm interested in is going to the gift shop because I wanted to get a gnome, right? A garden gnome. And the line said it was 80 minutes long. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to pass on that for now. And Chet recommended that we just pass on that until later and go to a different store, which is on the fifth hole instead of the main entrance. And because we had members badges for Wednesday, that gave us access to the members clubhouse, the members pro shop, the members gift store, founders hall, and to get inside the ropes by the tree. And that's where the golf industry all hangs out, is under the big tree right outside the clubhouse. And that's where all the umbrellas are to sit and eat. And if you've seen, or heard about under the umbrellas. So first thing, because Chet has played there so many times, he was able to give me a detailed tour. And on Wednesday, they had the putting contest. We didn't watch any golf. We saw a couple of golfers practicing on various holes, but we didn't see any golf that day. We probably put in 30,000 steps walking the course, and Chet sharing details from tee to green on practically every hole and how to play them and the best viewing angles for things. So at one point we're standing, waiting to cross over the 15th fairway, and standing there, and I turn around and I look and I'm thinking, wait a minute, is that? It is. And I walked up to this person after watching for a few minutes and I went, Paige? And it was Paige Spinnerack on Wednesday. Well, Wednesday is the only day you were allowed to have a camera there, and you can't bring your phones anytime. But I had a digital camera that I borrowed from a friend. So I talked to Paige for a minute, told her that when she first got started doing her YouTube videos, that I wrote to her asking her to be on the show, and that she never responded, which is fine because it was a podcast and she's a video star. And just told her how happy I was for her success, and we got a picture together. So then we take off, and now we're walking, and we're headed up because we're supposed to meet Mac Barnhart, who you heard a couple weeks ago. We've heard multiple times on the show. Mac is Lucas Glover's agent, and Mac and I had been texting, and he says, all right, meet me at 11:30 by the tree in front of the clubhouse, and we'll have lunch together. And then Lucas tees off at 12:14, so we'll go over there together. And I'm like, okay, that would be awesome. So as we're walking over there, there's a group of photographers walking in front of us. We're walking across a fairway, and there's a group of 4 or 5 photographers with very large lenses, official press photographers in front of us. And I look over, and one of them is Ken Griffey Jr., and I was like, Ken? And he goes, yeah. I said, you're working here? What's going on? He goes, yeah, I am. And I said, well, it's crazy because I was just telling Chet a story about you this morning. So on the drive over we were staying about an hour outside of Augusta, which is 2.5 hours from Atlanta. We were staying with a friend of his while we were going to Augusta. And on the drive over, Chet and I were sharing baseball stories. Chet's father was a renowned baseball writer for the Boston Globe for decades. And so Chet and I both have great baseball stories we were sharing. And I was telling him about the time that I was at a game at the Seattle Mariners game, and Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. were on the same team together. It was one of 2 years or 1 year that they did that. And the story was the game I was at, Dad was on second base. I think he walked, and then there was a sacrifice fly. He's on second, and then Junior comes up to the plate and hits a home run. Well, in baseball, when somebody hits a home run, if anybody's on base, they run, they cross home, and then they wait for the guy who hit the home run. They wait for him to cross home plate. And when they do, give him a high five, a slap on the butt, and they go into the dugout. Not Ken Griffey Sr. He's waiting for his son to come to home plate. And as he crosses home plate, Dad reaches up, grabs his hat, and gives Junior a noogie. And it was the cutest thing. It's a total dad thing. So when I met Ken Griffey walking across at Augusta National, I said, I was just telling Chet this story about you this morning. And I told Ken the whole story. And I said, he gave you a noogie. And Ken looks at me and goes, he's still doing that. It was so good. So he looked at me and he goes, is this your first Masters? And I went, yes. And he said, me too. Isn't this awesome? So that was really amazing that I got to meet him. So then we made it up there, and we made it to the tree, and I find Mac, and he's having a conversation with Jeff Ogilvy and his daughter. So I kind of stand back and wait for them to finish. And as I'm talking, I look over his shoulder, and there's Annika Sorenstam having a conversation with somebody. And I look over to the right, and sitting at one of the tables under the umbrella, there's Nancy Lopez. You have two of maybe the top 5 women golfers of history standing there. It's like people are just, schmoozing and happy to see each other and having a grand old time. So I'm talking to Mac, and he introduces me to another person that he's talking to. It was Derek Smith, who I actually met a couple times that afternoon. Derek Smith is one of the part owners of the Atlanta Falcons, and I think he's CEO of Choice Point. But then we go and sit down for our lunch. We get a table, and it's Chet and Mac and myself. And across the table are 3 gentlemen. And I'm going to back up the story a little bit. When I landed in Atlanta on Monday night, the first thing I did was go visit Chet and I. Chet, it was a mile from Chet's house. We went and visited Dr. Bob Jones. As many times as Dr. Bob has been on Golf Smarter over the years, he and I had never met. So it was really awesome to go to his office and meet him, and then spend, hour and a half just chatting with Chet and Dr. Bob and myself. And so one of the things that Dr. Bob, and we talked about this earlier, Dr. Bob and Charlie Yates are very good friends. Well, Chet is very good friends as well with Charlie Yates Jr., as is Dr. Bob. And I actually this year I asked if Dr. Bob would ask Charlie to be on the show with him. And Charlie is very shy about that, doesn't like to showcase himself, but he denied. So that's fine. I just was hoping maybe we can do it. So we meet up with Charlie Yates, and he introduces me to Derek Smith, again, second time. But now we're sitting having lunch with Mac, and sitting across the table are these 3 gentlemen. One man probably in his late 70s, maybe early 80s, named William Black, and his 2 sons are sitting there, Stu and Robert. And we get talking, and I asked Bill, he introduced himself as Bill Black. I asked him, how many times have you been coming to the Masters? And he said, well, my first time I was 14 years old. I said, you're kidding, that's incredible. How have you had access like that? He said, family. And I looked at him, I said, keep going, tell me more. He goes, yeah, my grandfather was Bobby Jones. I'm like, wait a minute, you're first cousins with Dr. Bob? He went, yeah. I said, we were with him the other night. It's incredible. So here I am sitting with Bobby Jones' grandson and two of his great-grandsons. And we had a wonderful time, and Bill told crazy stories, but it supported almost everything that Dr. Bob said. And hopefully Bob Black, will be on the show because he's got a really fascinating organization called Change the Course. And I hope to feature that soon on an upcoming episode of Golf Smarter. Now, I'm doing this little bonus episode because I've got so much packed in leading up to episode 1000 that I didn't want to change any of those, so I thought it would be appropriate to put this on the Sunday. And okay, they're pre-boarding. I'm just going to keep talking. Hopefully you'll hear what I'm saying. Because we have access to the clubhouse and whatnot from the members, we were able to walk into the trophy room and the hallway of the main lobby of the founders room. And it's a museum of Augusta, and it's absolutely amazing. And after spending 2+ hours with Mac and then another half hour or so with Charlie, we get back to walking the course again. And I'll tell you, everyone talks about how beautiful, how green it is. It's incredibly lush at Augusta National as far as how green it is. It's maintained perfectly, and you can see how fast the greens are. But they're not allowed, the announcers are not allowed to call the rough because it's not really rough. They call it the second cut. When the ball lands on this second cut, which we would think of as rough, the ball is still 90% above the grass. You don't lose the ball. You're not going to lose the ball anywhere. It's really kind of wide open. So, but the course, the greens are so hard. The green complexes are so big and so have such elevation change and undulation. They're hard to read, as you're able to see. It's just a remarkable golf course. It's really beautiful. And the Masters tee boxes are much farther away than the members' tee boxes. It makes it almost a fun game to play if you're getting a chance to play there. So one other thing before we left Mac, we went over to go watch the families and the little kids doing just before the par 3 contest. So that's where the little kids come out and they get to see where the families playing and whatnot. I'm just checking my phone. I'm in zone 3 and they're on zone 2. So let's take another break here, and when we come back, I'll give you my impressions of Thursday. Be back right after this. Okay, we're ready to start again. And now it's Sunday morning at the Masters. No, it's Sunday morning and I'm in my backyard. I couldn't record again. It was too loud on the plane, obviously, to record anything. And then afterwards, as soon as I landed, my wife was also in Los Angeles during the week watching the grandchildren. And then, so we landed at the airport at the same time. So I just haven't had a chance, and we had dinner plans last night. I didn't have a chance to record the second segment until now. And I've been trying to gather my thoughts and talk about what Thursday was like versus Wednesday. And they're completely different days. Wednesday was like being at Disneyland. I went shopping twice. I shopped first in the morning, and then I shopped again in the afternoon. And then as we were leaving, and then Thursday is more like being at the Thanksgiving Day parade, right? It's just a bunch of people lined up with mild applause, watching the stars stroll by. It's kind of like being at a parade. Funny thing about this, my younger son, who I've talked about for so many years on the podcast, is the one who got me started playing golf when I was in my mid-40s. He and I have had this ongoing thing about who do you think's going to get to go to the Masters first? Well, when he asked me that question, I didn't realize that he had friends who go every year. One of his closest friends from college and her husband, they go every year because she's from that area and her mother has connections. And I was thinking, oh, I don't know, you going first, me going first. I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to go, but now that I realize you have a chance to go, maybe your chances of going are 50-50. And he's like, oh, no, I'm going to go 90%. The irony to all this, and again, I didn't think I'd ever get to go. The irony is that I went on Wednesday and Thursday, and my son went on Friday and Saturday. So we both got to go, but I got to go first. And I had access to things that he would never get access to because of Charlie Yates. So, who, again, we talked about with Dr. Bob this week. So Thursday, let's go back. So first thing, I wanted to get a gnome. I wanted a garden gnome. So as soon as we got there, I got in line at one of the stores, not the exclusive store that I got to go in yesterday with my member badge, but they didn't have gnomes. But I went into one of the stores, the line was like 30 minutes long. The day before, the line was 90 minutes long, so I'm like, pass. But the 30-minute line is like, I'm going to do it because I really want a garden gnome for my putting green. And I go shopping, I get my gnome, I find out they only have one per person, so I couldn't get one for my son. So I told him, you're on your own on that. And then luckily you get to go to your car once while you're inside. You have one time you can go out and come back in. You only get 2 entries with your pass. So after shopping again, I went to the car, put stuff away, and then we came back. Our first stop was we're standing near the approach on number 3. And as we're standing there waiting for the ball, the guys to tee off, all of a sudden a spotter, I'm standing next to the ropes and the spotter goes, your feet, look out for your feet. And a ball comes rolling and a guy on my left, the ball hits his foot and rolls back behind the crowd. So I immediately walk back and I get to stand right behind. It was Patrick McNeely, who was +1 after 2. I'm standing 5-6 feet behind him as the ball's in the second cut. Now remember, they are not allowed to call it the rough. But when you look at the grass, the second cut, for recreational players who play public golf, the second cut there is kind of like what our fairways are like. The ball, you can still see 90% of the ball. It's sitting up. There is no rough. This is not the U.S. Open. So there's always a great opportunity to hit the ball well. Well, McNeely chipped up to a blind shot, and we don't know to applaud or not. We don't know if it rolled off the green, but the people behind the green were applauding. It's like, okay, good shot. He had a 15-footer that he missed. It slid to the left of the hole, and he got the par. Then we head over, and we're at the number 4 tee box, and it's only like 20 yards from the third hole, which we just saw. And the group of McNeely, Finau, and Dietrich, and McNeely was closest to the pin on that par. And these are just notes. Then the day before, Charlie Yates Jr. told Chet, who, they're good friends, told Chet, meet me here at noon tomorrow and let's have lunch. And so comes up to noon, we meet Charlie and he's talking to some people, and he introduces us to these other guys, and they're entrepreneurs, fascinating entrepreneurs. And stay tuned because we may get a couple of them on the podcast coming up. I'm working on it. And you'll know then at the time that these are the people I had lunch with. But Charlie then takes us into lunch inside the founder's dining room. And this is only people that can eat in there, I'm pretty sure, are members and their guests. So we get to walk in. And Charles, at the door was, I think his name is Charles Cooley, and he was a past champion that wasn't playing anymore. He's older, but he's still alive. Let's see here. Yeah, I found his name, and it was Charles Cootie from Abilene, Texas. He wasn't playing, but he was there, so he greeted us at the door, said hello to Charlie. And we go in and eating lunch in this founder's room with Charlie, sharing stories. Again, what a treat. No hats. What a treat. What a conversation we had. Afterwards, I have to go to the bathroom, and walk down the hallway, and I'm standing outside the bathroom, and this young woman comes up to me and says, "Sir, do you need to use the restroom?" I said, "Yeah, I do. I'm waiting here." She goes, "Come with me, please." And she walks me down the hall. She knocks on a door of a different bathroom saying, "Housekeeping." And nobody responds. She goes, "Here you go." And I get a bathroom to myself. That's what goes on at the Masters with the staff. It is remarkable how much every person there, even in the parking lots, when you're in the parking lot and you park your car, every single person is, "Welcome to the Masters, welcome to the Masters, enjoy your day." And that's just wherever you go. Later in the day, I had to go to the bathroom again. I'm old. And I went to the public bathrooms near one of the halls. I think it was near 6 or something. And there's a young man standing at the doorway of this bathroom going, "If you're going number 1, go to the left line. If you're going number 2, stay against the wall. Number 1, left. Number 2." And he's constantly just ongoing and going and going. Trying to him, and he was great. And he had this beautiful attitude, and he was fun. But this is all that he was saying. "Number 1, left line, come in on the left. Number 2, stay against the wall." So I said to him, "Did you audition for this job?" He's like, No, I'm just doing this and it's fun." I said, "Well, how long are you doing it?" He says, "This is my 4th year of doing it, and it's the greatest job I've ever had, and it's 1 week a year. I love this job." And you just get that feeling from every person you come in contact with across the board. The staff was fantastic, and they'd really appreciate being there. Now we're walking, and as we cross some of the pine straw under some of the trees, the pine trees, I realize, wait a minute, I've got an empty water bottle with me here. I'm just going to fill it with pine straw. This could be the greatest free souvenir I could have, and there's nothing like it. This is the only place ever to get something like this. So I fill my water bottle with pine straw, some twigs. I found a pine cone and some azaleas that were on the floor. And so I have this bottle now, and when you open it up, it smells so great. And the reason I did this is years ago, my wife and I took a trip to Alaska. We went on a cruise to Alaska, and we got on a helicopter and took the helicopter up to a glacier. And while at the glacier, I took a rock. And it was not a boulder and not a pebble, but it was a rock. It's probably the size of a softball. And I keep it in my freezer at home so that when people come over and they open the freezer, if they open the freezer or this conversation comes up, they're like, "Why is there a rock in your freezer?" I said, "Because I pulled it off of a glacier, and it's thousands of, maybe millions of years old, and I wanted to make it feel at home." So that's made me feel like I wanted to bring home some pine straw from the Masters, and I have that. But a couple people said, "Don't let the staff or let anybody see that because you could get in trouble for that." Really? Okay, fine. Never observation about Thursday play, and that would be the speed of the greens. It is mind-blowing to see these guys that are 25 feet away, 30 feet away from the hole, and if there's any slope or downhill at all, they're hitting a 5-foot putt, maybe a 3-foot putt. And the fact that they can get that to the hole and stop near the hole, or in some cases just keeps going, but the pace of the greens, the speed of the greens, something I've never witnessed before, and I'm not too interested in playing something like that because it is really remarkable to watch. And the pace of play on the greens. If anyone ever gives you a hard time about your pace of play, tell them to watch a professional golf tournament. Pace is very slow. They're very, very deliberate about every single shot they take. We shouldn't feel so badly about that. Also, I can only term this as the roar of the silence. When you have thousands of people standing watching a golfer and there's absolutely no sound at all. It's dead silent. The respect, the anticipation is so thick on both sides that you just can't imagine how quiet it is. But then it either then you can close your eyes and know basically what happened. There's either, applause, light applause, or there's a giant groan from the crowd, or they erupt in excitement. And you could just tell what's happening. We were standing with Mac at one point that day, and we heard a crowd scream, from the other side of the course, not knowing what happened. But Mac goes, "Oh, somebody got an eagle." It was crazy. Okay, walking down the 10th fairway. Patrick Cantlay had just hit his drive on number 10. And again, this is a hole that you really can't imagine what the down slope is like. And if you, again, on TV, watch the top of their head versus the horizon, and it'll give you a real good sense of what the slope of the downhill and uphill is and which way they're going. So as we're walking down this fairway, Cantlay had just hit his ball, and he's walking by us. And he's got a sandwich in one hand and a drink in the other. And all of a sudden, he crosses over the rope, goes over to a trash can, and spits out everything in his mouth. Not throwing up, but just, right? And then walks back over the ropes, takes another bite of his sandwich, and keeps on going. It's like, wait, do you like it or you don't like it? What is going on here? That was like weird. Number 9 tee. Sergio's about to tee off, and he's just bringing his club back a little bit, and all of a sudden we hear beep from behind him, and he stops and he turns around and he goes, "Sounded like a phone." And the officials are sitting there, police are sitting there. There's armed police following every single. You don't see them, but they're following every single group on the side, on the ropes, but inside the ropes. And so everyone's looking around. Sergio tees off. I'm over listening to these officials, and they can't identify where that sound came from. They're thinking maybe it was a siren from off the course. We don't know. We couldn't figure it out. Then I had a pimento sandwich. You have to do it, right? You have to have a pimento sandwich while you're there. And the sandwiches, the prices of the concessions, if you go to sporting events at all, you know that prices at concessions are pretty outrageous. Hopefully you can go to golfsmarter.com and see, I'll post a bunch of my photos that go with this episode, my time from there, and hopefully I'll be able to post it for you. But the concession stands, I'm queuing up my photographs so I can read some of the numbers to you on how crazy it is. Egg salad and pimento cheese sandwiches, $1.50. The other sandwiches, barbecue pork, Master's Club, chicken salad on honey wheat, ham and cheese on rye, classic chicken, $3 a piece. And the food is good. Breakfast served until 10 a.m. Master's Blend fresh brewed coffee, $2. Chicken biscuit, $3. Breakfast sandwich, $3. Blueberry muffin, $2. Fresh mixed fruit, $2.50. Beverages, this is amazing. Soft drinks, bottled water, fresh brewed iced tea, $2. Then the alcohol, Crown Nest, domestic beer, import beer, white wine, $6. That's expensive for them, right? And then the snacks, apple slices, chips, plain or barbecue, $1.50. Peanuts, $1.75. Southern cheese straws, not even sure what that is, $2. Cookies, $1.75. And then the new one this year, the Georgia Peach ice cream sandwich, $3. So I did eat a pimento sandwich. I did get to do it. Would I have another one? Not by choice, but if I'm back at the Masters, I'll do anything if I can get another chance to go. So after we walked around, seeing various locations, watching different people play, now after Lucas Glover finished the 9th hole, we went and I found Mac Barnhart again. And he's chatting with the head of New Era, the hat company. And we talk for a few minutes and talk about what Lucas is doing. He's just like, I hope Lucas just has to make the cut. He's not having a good day on Thursday, but he's going to put it all together Friday and I'll make the cut. Well, unfortunately, he didn't. So we're sorry, Lucas, and we're sorry, Mac. But another one of Mac's clients, Danny Willett, did make it. It was much louder on the grounds on Wednesday than it was on Thursday, just because there's a buzz. Everyone's just like exploring and looking at things and getting a feel and shopping. And so it was much louder on the course. Thursday was much quieter. But here's something interesting. When you watch it on TV, you hear the birds a lot. But when you're there, you don't see any birds. I saw 2 in the parking lot. You don't hear them. Occasionally you might hear a couple birds. But I think it's because of these big microphones that they use for television so they can get the sound of the club hitting the ball. I think they pick up the limited sound of birds unless they're piping in phony bird noises. It's quite possible, but I was really amazed at how quiet it was and not even bird sounds when we were there. On 15, Cantlay had a couple groups ahead of Rory, who had the same shot where he was off to the left of the green on 15 or behind the green, and he chipped up and the ball just kept going and went in the water. I saw Cantlay do that. I didn't get to see Rory do it. But then at the end of the day, what did I do? 2 days of the Masters, 4 shopping sprees. If I go play a golf course that I've never played before and I play well, or it's a unique golf course, of course I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to do something. First I'll go to the sale rack and see if I can find a shirt on sale, or otherwise I'll spend maybe $90 on a shirt or something. Well, I kind of went crazy. Went shopping 4 different times and spent a lot of money. I don't want to say it because I'm not going to discuss. I don't want my wife to hear it. I spent a lot of money on a golf course I'm never going to play. And then we had a 2.5-hour drive back to Atlanta, back to Chet's house. And I just want to thank you for letting me share this with you, because you're my closest golf friend. I mean, we've been talking together for a long time about golf, and I really am so excited that I had the opportunity to share this with you. And as we're only a few weeks away from episode 1000, I am blown away. And I still don't know who episode 1000 is, but I did reach out to a bunch of some of the best people that we've ever had on Golf Smarter to lead up to it. And you're hearing it starting now with Dr. Bob. This week, next week, and more, we're going to hear people. And until everything's recorded, I don't want to say who it is, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And I only want to send my regards to the Pels family. I wish that we could have had Dave Pels come back again, but we lost him a few weeks ago. And I could not get him to come back on the show one more time. The other thing about the podcast is when I was introduced to people, and I don't go, I'm a podcaster. If I'm introduced as a podcaster, like, oh, you do a podcast? Yeah, lots of people do podcasts. But here's the thing. I've been doing my podcast now weekly. I'm in my 20th year. And I started a year and a half before the iPhone came out. And that gets people to go, ooh, that's interesting. So again, thank you for bearing with me on this. I had a great time. I can't wait to see what happens at the end of the day today. When the Masters was beginning, my 2 picks were Rory and Bryson. And here they are on Sunday on the final pairing.